Good evening, everybody, and I hope everybody is well. Tonight we have Rob Angus on with us, and also Dave Rixton, the new media man. So he's going to introduce himself to you all. Just a couple of things. Membership, it's now open for next season, so renewals and for any new members. So just go onto the website, onto the store, and do your season ticket. Your membership there. We're also doing the subscriptions for the matchday draw. So if you want to make sure you get your ticket for every game, you can book that on the website as well. Okay. Just one thing, we're aware of the tweet from the trust that went out yesterday regarding the advisory board. What we will say is that a lot of the questions that were brought up on there, we won't be answering tonight. That will go to the advisory board. Okay, so with Rob, we'll just concentrate on the super operational stuff, season tickets, shirts, that type of thing. And then the others will go to, as planned, to the advisory board next week. Okay, so let's bring Vic on. Hi, Vic.
Hi, Chris. How are you? Are you okay?
I'm good. How are you?
I've been a very good boy. I've renewed my subscription and my match day ticket draw thing. So there we are.
Yeah, we've had loads of new members. So thank you very, very much to anybody who hasn't previously been a member that's now joined. Fantastic. And if you haven't renewed, just put it through. I know you've got a few days and got until the start of the season, really. And then we can just do them in batches and get them out to you.
It's £5. £5. You know, hey, there's a retail price index going up like nobody's business, but it's £5, same as last year.
Exactly, and the year before, and probably the year before that, and the year before that. So
I think it was like that in 1968, but
you know. Oh, expensive then.
It was very much. Yeah, it's the price of a house then.
Okay, so let's bring on Dave and Rob. Hi.
Hey both, how you doing? Okay.
Oh, we've got a nice picture of the badge in the middle of the both of you.
Dave just needs to come a bit more that sort of to the left, and Rob needs to go a bit, and then you have it dead in the middle.
That work?
But that's fine.
We're very close here.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to leave you to it. As usual, any comments, any questions, please put into the onto the comments box. As I said, we will be keeping it to the sort of the operational stuff tonight, not to the stuff that should be going to the advisory board. Okay, and I will see you later.
Chris, thanks very much indeed. Chris will disappear off the screen in a moment, and well, we can see half of Rob and all of Dave, so that's a bit better. Yeah,
Is that a bit better?
That's much better. Yes, thank you very much. It's always nice to see you. We have a problem with Steve White. Whenever we have Steve White on, he can't get his camera to work, so it's always his lifetime ambition is to be able to be seen when we have him on again. So there we are. Swindon Town legend. Rob, welcome to you. I think most people know who you are and what you do. Dave, welcome to you. What do you do?
What do I do? So yeah, the new head of media here at Swindon Town Football Club, and delighted to be here. The first week is complete. It was a baptism of fire, to say the least. Obviously, with a lot going on. Obviously, announcement of Scott and assistant manager, 4 new signings, the fixtures that came out. So yeah, as a learning curve, I've learned a hell of a lot in a very short space of time. But what a fantastic place to be, and enjoying every moment so far.
So what's your background then? Have you been in the media before? What's your background?
Yeah, I certainly have. So going way back, graduated Bournemouth University with a degree in media journalism, television, video studies, all that sort of stuff. Was out of university for about a week and was lucky enough to get a job at a local radio station near where I live, sort of Dorchester way. Became a broadcast journalist, so was reading the news, which I really enjoyed. Did that for around a couple of years, and then took a bit of a diversion in the career, went into the police. So was working in the control room there for a while, so sending officers and police helicopters and dog units to different incidents and recording it, and basically the eyes and ears of the officers, which was a real insight into real life. I think it was I learned a lot of life experiences through that role, and weirdly enough, through that I missed the media side of things and was keen to get back into it all, and had made some quite good contacts within the police. And during my radio days, obviously was in constant contact with them through various different appeals and things that we used to put out on the radio. Was offered a role to become a media officer at Dorset Police, so took up that opportunity, and loved every minute of that. Working with some fantastic people. Wanted to move slightly closer to home, so then got a role doing a similar thing at Bournemouth Hospital. So I went into the NHS, so managing staff in the media and press calls and that sort of thing. Did that for another couple of years, and then moved on to Dorset Healthcare, so still in the NHS, but the organisation who manages around sort of 300 different services around Dorset. So everything from mental health services to childcare and a lot more. So I was basically the journalist within the organisation, so sharing the good news stories, getting the press and media in, looking after Sky when they came in to do news reports. So not everything was positive, as you can imagine, in the NHS, but still a very rewarding job, and again met some fantastic people. And it was around then that I realised actually I wouldn't mind doing this in the football environment. And dare I say it, had been a Southampton fan since a young age. Sorry for that. A job came up to work as head of their internal media and communications, and I got the role there. I'd been there for 3 years, so again, sort of the eyes and ears within the organisation, and keeping staff up to date with various different information and announcements, and working with the board of directors, the owners, that sort of thing. And then realised that I wanted to do a bit more of the player focus sort of side of things. And it's a relatively small media team at Southampton, and there weren't that many sort of opportunities in there to do that. So began looking elsewhere, and obviously this role at Swindon came out to advert, and obviously it's a very player focused role and manager focused role, and working with Rob and a lot of other people here to try and enhance the media output that we put across the club, across our social digital channels and on the website as well, and obviously managing the press and media on match days as well. So yeah, really pleased to be here, and hopefully it's I'm settling it okay. I haven't heard otherwise at the moment, but yeah, enjoying it so far.
Well, ask Rob how you're doing in a minute. As one ex-broadcast journalist to another, then welcome to Swindon Town Football Club. You'll know how much it means to the community. You'll know how much it means to the fans. I'm sure throughout the course of the season, you'll learn a lot about our supporters. I'm one of them. I'll moan as much as anybody. So, I'll say that right now. So welcome, and we wish you well. How is he doing, Rob? Because it's been a bit of a bonkers week, hasn't it, to be fair?
Yeah, look, he's had a great start, a busy start. That's probably the best way sometimes. And look, big thank you to Andrew Steele-Davis, who did the role before, did a great job. Obviously off now, as we know, to explore opportunities across the pond in American sports, and I'm sure he'll do great. It's a big thank you for all he's done, and he's given Dave a good handover as well. But Dave started really well, and as he said, it's a really busy week, which is I think some of the best ways to start, really.
Yeah, Andrew Steele-Davis off to cover ice hockey, a sport he truly loves, I know. So we wish him well. Right, should we get into some of these questions? It'd be interesting, Dave, for you to listen out, I think, some of the questions that we're going to get tonight, because you'll have some idea of what we do on this every Monday night, really. And Rob very kindly has joined us. The subject of shirts, Rob, you'll know the shop launched, which was great. You had a lot of sales. You had a lot of online sales. And then things weren't available. So what happened?
Well, first off, it's great that the shirts have gone down so well. We think both the home and away design are great, and the demand has been high. What we've got is, in terms of Puma, obviously the supplier, there has been some issues in their supply chain and getting the shirts over to us, and then obviously we've got to get them printed as well and get them out to fans. We've got more coming. But the orders sort of come in sort of batches. That's sort of the way it works. So I think all of the people who have placed orders and haven't had their shirts yet, they should be out to them by the end of this week. And we have got more shirts coming in. So we think probably by the end of July, beginning of August, the pre-orders would have been done as well. So the demand's been great. So please keep that up. The shirts are coming in; they're available. but there have been some issues in the supply chain. We know that we're probably in a better position than a number of other clubs, even though it may not feel that way. Demand has been strong, which is great, but also when you've got a team, a very good team, but a small team, sometimes that demand, is greater than the services we can supply. Though Ella, Jordan, Matt, and all the others in the team over there, Vicky, Kieran, Mark, Jack. I'm trying to remember everybody, so apologies if I forgot anybody. They've done a great job given the peak in demand and the number of staff that we can do to respond to that.
Were you surprised by that? Because I've got a question here from Gareth, which says, please can you ask why we can't pre-order kids' home shirts? I mean, can you pre-order kids' home shirts now? Is that a thing that you can do?
We'll look into that. I thought you could actually. If we can't, we'll look into that, and we'll follow up and look into it.
Were you surprised by the demand then? Did that take a little bit aback?
I think we a little bit surprised, not overly surprised. I think the part of the issue we've got is just getting the supply in and supply chain running through. As I said, we had to drive up to get some shirts from Puma to get them that bit quicker. Right. Because some that were due to come in were still on containers coming over from China. The supply chain, as we know, is a complex one in most goods and services these days. But more are coming in, and the good thing, demand is strong. It's a lovely shirt. It's selling well. More are coming in, and we'll make sure that everybody who wants a shirt will get one.
Well, not that I'm plugging it, but you might notice that I've got it up there behind me. So I got it on the. I was lucky. I got it ordered on the first day, and it arrived 4 days later. So that was pretty good. Dave, what did you make of that? Because you've come to a club which narrowly missed out on the playoffs last year. We'll get to a managerial change in a moment, but were you surprised at the way that these shirts went and things like that? Are you surprised by the demand for Swindon Town?
Not really, because I'm a huge football fan. I love the EFL anyway, and always have. And if I'm honest, I'd probably rather watch an EFL game than a Premier League game, and I genuinely mean that. I'm that sort of fan. But I've always been aware of the fan base that Swindon Town have had and the following. And I was lucky enough to shadow Andrew on a couple of occasions towards the end of the season. The couple of playoff games, and the fan base here is fantastic. The noise, the passion that fans have. So for me, the shirt's lovely as well to see that, and it doesn't surprise me at all that there's been high demand for it, and no doubt we'll see the majority of the county ground filled with them once the season gets underway.
Yeah, obviously the first opportunity people will have to wear them will be Cardiff at home, which is a 12 o'clock kickoff, I think, Rob, isn't it? And tickets are on sale now. I know they are, because I bought mine earlier this week. But unfortunately, Gareth Bale won't be playing for Cardiff because he's off to Los Angeles. So sorry about that. If you were looking to see Gareth Bale play, he won't be there. That 12 o'clock kickoff is an odd one, isn't it, Rob? I mean, were you surprised by that?
Well, we had conversations really with the police, and we're trying to sort of make sure we get it on with their support as best possible and getting the safety certificate. So they preferred the earlier kickoff, which we were happy to support, and try to make the game more ticket as well, both for the Cardiff fans and buy tickets in advance to the Swindon fans. So we just sort of manage things. It's a pre-season friendly. I think it's a great game against Cardiff, who are a strong championship team and only over the road. They've got good support. But we've not played Cardiff for a number of years. So we're just trying to do all we can to make sure we put it on and create the safest environment that we can. And
it's just the John Trollope Arkles that's open, is that right?
That's the plan, absolutely, yeah. I mean, if you look back at pre-season friendly attendances previously, we think that will meet demand. Obviously, if demand exceeds that, then we'll have to look at things. But given the game last year against Peterborough and what we've seen before, we think that should be sufficient to meet demand.
Right, let's get into this one about the managerial thing then. This is from James. Now, I don't know how much you can say about this, but I'm going to ask you this question anyway. Are you able to shed any light at all on the conversation that was had with Ben Garner? We knew he was in contract, but then he went to Charlton mid-contract. Can you shed any light on that?
Well, look, the conversations obviously took place, and permission was granted, and Ben has obviously moved on with compensation agreed. I guess that's all we can say. And, we wish Ben all the best. And now we move forward, and we've got a great head coach in Scott Lindsay, and he's brought in his assistant in terms of Jamie Day. And we look forward on that basis.
Yeah, because Anthony says on a similar subject, if you and Clem had your time again, what would you have done differently with the way that you handled the communication on Garner's exit and Scott Lindsay's appointment? Do you think you would have done anything differently, or was it a case of you had to go along with what happened?
No, look, I think Clem has said, when things are happening in sort of in a certain way and things are confidential and terms are being agreed, you can't come out and say anything, because you could prejudice what is being agreed and the conversation the club is due. So people got to recognise that there are certain conversations happen that need to remain confidential, and then they can maybe disclose later on, or sometimes they have to remain confidential forever. That's the nature of the confidentiality of some of the commercial agreements that get put in place.
I know, hey, this is football. Were you surprised that Ben Garner decided to move on?
Look, a little to begin with, but as you've said, Vic, this is football. If someone comes in, offering, if you like, football at a higher level, then people will look at that and they'll assess what the decisions they make. As I said, for me, the important thing is we've got Scott Lindsay in charge. He's a fantastic head coach, and we've got every confidence he'll take us forward and stronger and better this season.
Dave, how did you handle all that? Because there you are, you're into the fire, really, aren't you? With we as fans, we all thought, right, playoffs are out of the way, settled summer, get some players in, off we go for the next season. Then within a week or so, it all gone to pieces, and we need a new manager, stroke head coach. You, as the new media man, you had to deal with all that. How difficult was that?
I wouldn't say it was difficult. I think for me, obviously, I was actually supposed to start the job on Wednesday, and obviously I got a phone call the Sunday before saying, obviously, we're looking to make that announcement on the Monday. So for me, the Ben Garner side of things was done before I sort of started. So I was straight in, and it was, I met Scott, fantastic chap, and got to know him very quickly. And obviously we did our media bits with him, and he's very, very open. He's a very, very honest chap. And for me, it made my life and my job a lot easier. I think it's always very difficult, isn't it, when there were a lot of. I was obviously following the media over the weeks before I started the role, and the rumor mill was certainly doing the rounds. And in my head, I was thinking, okay, well, I had an interview here, and obviously Ben was involved in that, and now it's sort of who might I be working with. So I was keeping a close eye on that, obviously, and but. I'm really pleased that Scott's in place, and in the very short space of time that I've had to get to know him, we've built a really good relationship, and he's had a fantastic first week. He's certainly been getting things done, with all the signings and bringing in an assistant manager and things that he hasn't stopped. So yeah, a bit of a whirlwind, but in the media side of things, it helps when your manager is happy to talk to you as well and give you lots of information, and is confident in addressing the media as well. And my first experience of doing that, Scott did really, really well. So I'm just really excited to move forward, and I see Scott in action at the moment around the football club. He's got a fantastic relationship with everybody here behind the scenes, and I think that will go a long way to him being successful moving forward with this football club.
Well, hopefully we can get him on here before too much longer and have a chat with him. That would be really, really nice. So I'll put that request in now, Dave. If you could sort that out for me, that'd be great.
On the list.
Good. This from Daz, Robin. It's something, oh gosh, I wish I could, I go watch Somerset quite a lot, right? So the PA system, 1 week it works, 1 week it doesn't work. 1 week it blasts you out on the area you're sitting in. The next week you can't hear it. So you're not alone in this. But at the county ground, the PA system has been a long-running thing. So where are we at with the PA system?
So the PA system, we've done a lot of improvements during the season as best we could. I know there are still some speakers, I think, that need sorting out and fixing in the Don Rogers stand, and we are looking to get that sorted ahead of the season. But we've made improvements. We'll continue to review that. There should be some speakers being fixed in the Don Rogers stand that I think need updating and need replacing. Just getting to them during the season, given the size of that stand and the fact that you need a cherry pick, and we've got a plan for doing that. So hopefully they'll make those improvements. But again, if it's still not working, we'll look to make further improvements. It's something we monitor after every game. We've got a good team in place. helping us with that. But we will be in the next few weeks making some changes and replacing some of the speakers that we believe have gone at the top of the Don Rogers stand.
You had the same thing last year, but the first game away from home, does that help?
Yeah, it does help. It does help a little bit. It does help in terms of giving us a bit of time, a little bit extra time of getting things ready. So it does help, definitely.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the early starts for Harrogate. Lovely. Right, this is from Derek. We don't seem to have any real indication of what the playing budget is or whether it's gone up or down or sideways. Can you give us an indication on that, or you're not able to answer that? What would you say?
The playing budget is going to increase from last year. I think Clem's already said that. It's going to be very, very competitive. Again, I wouldn't disclose what the playing budget is because I think that gives too much of a competitive advantage to the teams, that we're competing against. But I'll tell you now, it has gone up. It will go up quite a bit, and it'll be very competitive. And look, with the strength of the recruitment that we can do, and I think the work that Sandro has already shown, and his background as well, what he did at Wigan last year, with a competitive budget and the recruitment capabilities that we've got, the work that Sandro and Scott will put in to strengthen the team, I think we'll be very competitive next season.
What about the Scott Twine thing? Because as you'll be aware, he's gone to Burnley this week for an undisclosed fee. So what does that mean for Swindon Town?
Well, that's something we've got to work through. Obviously, it is undisclosed, and that means that they'll probably be kept confidential. You need to, yes, we've got to sell on, but we've got to find out the details of that. We need to understand the structure of the payments, how far they're spread over what sort of period, because the sell-on fee that we get will be linked to the spreading of those payments. So we'll need to find that out, work that sort of through. But it will help the club, no doubt. We don't know exactly how and when, but we'll find that out. Every single penny from that will be reinvested back in the club. Some of it, I'm sure, will go on the playing budget. Some will go into strengthen other areas and improve the infrastructure, etc. But the one thing we know and we've seen from Liv Clem's ownership, and I can absolutely, swear to this and testament to this, is every piece of money that comes into the club, whether that's compensation or transfer fee or the support was harder, money goes back into the club and is invested in the club.
That will come to the club, without going into the wrongs and rights of this, but as you'll be aware, there's a court case coming up, but it will go to the club. Is that right?
Yeah, it will go to the club. Absolutely. The money will come to the club. As I say, we don't know the exact details. We don't know the payment terms and how far it's been spread and stuff like that. And that affects all of what we receive. But the money will come into the club.
Okay. This is from Simon. What's the first year been like for Rob Angus, would you say?
Wow, it's been a very challenging year. I think it's fair to say. Obviously, we had a challenging start. I think we've had a really, really good year, really successful year. I think the team here have been fantastic and worked really hard. We've had amazing support from the fan base to get the crowds that we got. 10,000 plus home fans for 7 of the last 8 home games, I think, was amazing and been really, really backed on the pitch. On the pitch side, the guys performed really well. We got so close to to getting to Wembley and having a chance in a one-off game to be promoted. But now, we've got to sort of build on that. We've got positive momentum, obviously, with Scott coming in, the signings they're going to put in, the strength, as I said, of Sandro and his recruitment background. Keep with us, keep buying the season tickets. That's massively helps us build forwards, and helps things such as the playing budget and other things as well. So keep backing and supporting us, keep growing the fan base, and positive things are going to follow.
Dave, how much notice do you get of a signing? Do they ring you up 30 seconds before and say, get on the pitch because you need to do an interview? How does that work?
It can vary, to be honest. Obviously, the more notice, the better. But no, I mean, the first day I came in and I met Sandro, and I actually met him a few times previously when I come to the club. And as Rob mentions, he's a man with a very good track record of player recruitment and very good at what he does. And in all fairness, he's got a PR background as well, which is really helpful in my role as well, because he understands how it works. So to be honest, he's been really good with the notice of players coming in. Obviously, it's usually been, we've got a player potentially coming in tomorrow, and then, that's as much as I hear. And then it could be, in an hour or so, all the players just turned up. But, to have at least some notices is always helpful, obviously, because as you can imagine, there's a fair bit of work to do in getting photographs and the interviews, which is what we've been trying to do, over the past week. It takes a fair bit of time to do that, but no, he's been fantastic so far. And in all fairness, the players that we've brought in, I know they're young lads, but really, really good people. Really down to earth and really friendly and really prepared to speak openly, honestly about the reasons they've joined the club.
How much media training do players get these days? Because it seems to me, in the old days, they didn't get any, quite frankly. They just used to speak to Clive King from the Evening Advertiser years ago, and that was basically it. But do they get proper training now?
At the very highest level, yes, and it filters down. I can't speak for Swindon at the moment. It's the early days, but again, I know that it's something Sandro is keen to do. I think some players have a natural knack for it, some others don't. But I know certainly from my experiences at Southampton, it's a very, very important part of what they do. As you can imagine now more than ever with social media and the amount of media coverage that football gets at every single level, it's more imperative than ever that the players do have some sort of knowledge and they understand how the media works and they can understand the repercussions of some of the things that they say and do, in their personal lives as well as in that football environment. So it is really important, and I'm hoping to, over the next sort of however long it takes here at the club, is to, if there isn't something in place already, to certainly look into that, because I think it's really important that the players that we bring in, and regardless of experience, whether they're 18, 19, or they come in at 32, 33, it's important for us to have that consistent approach and just make sure that players feel confident. I can support them all the way, but at the end of the day, I can't sort of step onto a live Sky interview and say cut. So the more training they have and the more prepared they can be for that, the better. And I'll do my best to try and do that.
Yeah, because what fans don't want is the sort of usual cliche, isn't it? Sort of, we'll take each game as it comes. Hopefully we'll get 3 points next week and we'll get a result. Well, you're always going to get a result, whatever it is. So they want to find out more about the personality of a footballer, don't they? That and how they react to a defeat, a win, that kind of thing. But sometimes when they've immediately come off the pitch, it's not the ideal time to ask them, is it?
No, and obviously, yeah, if they've had a bad result or lots of factors can affect it. You've got the adrenaline. Anything can happen, and I certainly know in my time, even at Southampton, we've had sort of players who have had a rather outspoken sessions on live interviews. But from my perspective, I really want fans to get to know the players as people, and I think a good way of doing that is to ensure that we're putting that sort of content out across our channels as well. So you're not really going to get to know a player in a post interview after a game, really. You're right, there's a lot of cliches that come out, but players are also very wary of protecting themselves as well as the football club as well, and that's really important. But from my perspective, if we can get that across in our sort of media channels throughout the week, and I'm very keen to do more media interviews with our players, the manager, keep fans really up to date with what's going on, take them behind the scenes with video as well. I'm hoping that'll go a long way to making the players feel at ease, and also letting the fans feel as if it's a very family feel here at this football club. But I think to give them a bit more insight into what goes on behind the scenes on the playing side, I think would.
Well, you won't be aware, but we did have a lot of trouble getting players on last year. I mean, we're happy to help you in any way we can by getting players on here. We'd love to chat to them and find out what sort of music they like, that kind of stuff. Whether they got a dog, all that kind of thing. Right. Whether they haven't got a dog, maybe. This is from Sean, Rob. I was going to put a wager on us winning the title next season, what with new signings added. But the trouble is we seem to be struggling to hold on to key players from last season. Disappointed with Payne after him saying last summer he was here to stay as he settled here in Swindon. All talk after all. Can you bring us up to date with what's happening? I've seen reports that Jack Payne isn't training with the club, all that kind of thing. Can you comment on that at all?
Well, I think it's more of one for Sandro, really. As famously known in terms of the football-related questions, it's more for Sandro and Scott. I think conversations are ongoing, but as all players are out of contract, they'll get other offers on their way up. the offers that they get and decide then what they'll do.
The 30th of June, I think, is when the contract's up. Is that right? Yeah. Right. I don't know if you want to answer this one. Explain the situation with the shirt sponsor. How does he get on the advisory board? Doesn't sound normal to me, Rob. That's from Chris. Do you want to answer that?
Well, look, we had a discussion at the last advisory board about trying to get a more diverse view, if you like, across different groups. And that included sort of trying to rotate on the basis of getting different sponsors on each sort of different month to give a view, as well as different fan groups as well. So the next advisory board, we've asked Stephen Trowbridge to come along from First City Nursing, and First City have been a great partner for us and have obviously taken the front of shirt sponsorship this season, which is great, and it's great support for the club. Do a lot of work in the community and obviously do a really important job. So they will be first on, and then we'll look to rotate that to try and get the sponsors view coming into the advisory board. And we're also extended it out as well to Jay, who's coming on from the Tom Broadbent Lounge. And again, we'll look to get other support groups on there and rotate that as well, so that we get a broader representation, I guess is the word we're looking for, on the advisory board over time.
Okay. I guess people want fan representation, and they want to be clear why they get the fan representation. Is that a fair point to make? Yeah,
absolutely. Look, it's having a number of people, our partners and sponsors, great support to the club, really help us, and really support, obviously, the reinvestment in the pitch and in the infrastructure. So it's important to get their view. Obviously, we've got the supporters club and we've got the trust and the advisory board as well. We're expanding that out as well by adding, Jay from the Sir Tom Broadbent Lounge, and we'll look to rotate that and widen where we can as well.
Okay, right. Let's have a look. How many? This is from Lee. How many season ticket sales at the last count? Do you know? And actually, on the subject of season tickets, we'll get to that in a sec. But do you know how many we've sold so far?
Yeah, I believe we're about 4,600. So that's good. We're obviously still keen to aim for 6,000. And new season tickets, are available now. So again, everyone that can afford to buy a season ticket would be great. If you can, it really helps the club, really helps us continue to invest in the infrastructure and the playing squad. And look, I think the new signings that we've seen to date, that Sandro and Scott brought in, are really exciting. And there's more to come. I said with Sandro's background that he's shown in recruitment, coupled with Scott, I think we'll have a really competitive squad for this season.
In terms of the admittance to the county ground, now you'll be aware that last year there were a lot of problems, particularly in the Arkles, with queues and people, the tickets not working and all that kind of thing. Where are we at with the entrance systems now?
So we've made improvements to the entrance systems. We had an issue with the way a number of season tickets were printed last year with the barcodes being squashed. So we're making sure that issue doesn't happen again with a new design for the season ticket cards that will go out in time and be posted out to everybody. So we're pretty confident that we'll be in a better position. And I think things improve throughout the season. So we're hoping that the changes we've made, plus with the season ticket cards being making sure they're printed in the correct way, we'll be in a stronger position, this year. And look, let's hope as well. We're still saying to people, get here early, because we're expecting large crowds. We want to see a busy county ground. We want to see the place sort of packed out. That's what we all want. It helps the club, helps us drive us forward, supports the players out on the pitch, because that bigger atmosphere does make a huge difference to them. The fans getting behind the team as they did towards the end of last season was amazing and made a big difference for that really strong run we had at the end of the season, especially at home.
I guess the big problem you're going to face is that there won't be a huge amount of away fans coming, will there? With clubs, with all due respect, like Barrow, Harrogate, Carlisle, Hartlepool. I could endlessly go on about the long trips we're doing, but you're not going to get huge numbers, are you? If you'd had in League One, I don't want to go on about this, but the situation in League One, basically it's the Southwestern League, isn't it? You're not going to get that this season.
No, we're not good. As you said, we lost a number of bigger games. We've still got a few, obviously, but not the numbers that we had. Obviously, we renew our rivalry with Gillingham, which we haven't done for a number of years.
Mm.
But that may be the case. But let's hope that we can get enough Swindon fans to fill the four sides of the stadium without worrying about large away attendances.
Will you be doing deals for kids at school and things like that?
Yeah, we're continuing to do that, working closely with the foundation and the trust. That work will continue. John and Shane have done a great job engaging with youth football clubs and local schools. That work will continue. Help with Mike Welsh on the trust as well, and others on the trust. So we'll continue to do that work.
Sean says, "Is Phil King back at the club next season?" Can you comment? He's not in hospitality, is he? So do you know what the situation is with that?
No, we're working things through. We're looking to change things up and bring different sort of people on board. Phil's done a great job over the years, but we're freshening things up and changing things around a little bit. And we'll have more ex-players coming on, doing interviews, etc., as we work that forward going forwards.
It's from Mel Marshall. It's the Stratton Bank. Will it be used for home or away fans when refurbished? I'm guessing, like the Barrow home match, that was primarily home fans, wasn't it? But as I've already indicated, if you had a brand spanking new Stratton Bank this year, it's unlikely you would use it for Harrogate and Hartlepool and people like that anyway. So would it be primarily for home fans?
Yeah, look, for the Stratton Bank for this year. Look, if we get the demand like we saw at the Barrow game, we'll open up the Stratton Bank this season for home fans. But it does cost. We've gone through that before. It does cost around about £4,000 to £5,000 to open it. When you look at the security costs, you look at the toilets you have to put in, etc. So you need to know that you're going to have sufficient demand to be able to fill it. We did that for the Barrow game, which is great. Equally, if you're not gonna fill it well, equally having a really busy town, and you can detract, if you like, from some of the atmosphere, because you take some of the noise out of other parts of the ground and people are spread out more widely, which we know sometimes happen at larger grounds. So when we get the demand, we'd definitely be keen to open it, and we'll look at doing that sort of things. And then going forwards, once the ground purchase is completed and we've done the feasibility studies and surveys, we can look about what we do longer term with the Stratton Bank and obviously how we improve the stadium, put the roof on, etc.
Let me take you back a few months to this, Rob. Steve says, when is the third kit coming out? What colour will it be? You might remember we had this very long-running conversation last year about that. It turned out to be black, of course. This year we got a white second kit, but there is a problem, isn't there? Because we will be playing a lot of teams like Doncaster, for instance, who play in red and white.
Yeah.
Crawley, people like that, Stevenage. So you're going to have a third kit, aren't you? So when are we expecting that?
Well, there is a third kit. If you think it's a cracking kit and cracking design, I'm not going to give anything more away than that at the moment, as ever, as we do. But it's coming, and it'll be available later in the year. But look, we think it's a cracking. Look, we think all three kits are cracking, but it'll be one for a surprise for you.
So when is that likely, do you think? I guess it's before you play people like Stevenage and Doncaster, isn't it? You're going to have to have it.
Yeah.
All right, we'll look at the dates.
We'll carefully fix your list, but no.
Yeah, we'll have a look. Where are we going? Lots of shirts have been delivered without the logo on it. Have you looked at that? Who does the printing, says Graham. Why are shirts arriving with no sponsors, Puma logos, and even the badge? And also, this is from Stu. From shirts, kits, please make sure they're checked for missing logos. So, are they checked before they go out? Are they quality checked?
Yeah, they should be checked before they go out. So if there are instances like that, get in touch with STFC store, either via email or call, and we'll look to get that sorted out. Okay,
Dave. Obviously, if you've got a full stadium, doing stuff like you do, it must be fantastic, mustn't it? But how difficult is it to hide the empty bits, if you see what I mean? Because nobody wants to see an empty stadium on videos, do they? So how do you do that?
How do you mean, from on a match day? On
a match day, when you've got like the Stratton Bank, which is 99% of the time empty, do you try to feature the bits with lots of people in it? How do you do that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously from a photography point of view, we've got a very reliable photographer who will do his bits and pieces, and he's very clever at what he does, and he can shape things up. So obviously when we do have a few empty seats, that's not made visible, as it were. But from my perspective on a match day, my prime aim is to obviously look after the players and the manager, and pre and post match, and obviously during the match try and keep supporters updated with what's going on the pitch. So I'm very fortunate in the fact that I can, maybe if we haven't had an attendance that we're looking for, I can maybe try and scoop around that, really. But yeah, from my perspective, it's really just a case of trying to build that atmosphere through socials. But in my experience so far, I know the history of the football club, and the fan base is fantastic. The home crowds, the noise in the county ground is incredible. And again, I know I revert back to Southampton, but when I was a youngster and used to go to the Dell, a very sort of compact ground, but I to this day had never really experienced a sound like it until I came here, and it just took those sort of memories back, and of being a kid, and just to seeing so many supporters just smiling and just shouting players' names and singing, and to have that atmosphere. I just can't wait to see that next season, and I'm sure with Scott here, and obviously the squad that he's building, the closer we get, the season's almost upon us now, but hopefully we'll get a few more through the gates through pre-season and the away games, and obviously it'd be good to see quite a few fans at Cardiff, and then obviously the season kicks into action after that.
Yeah, H. McCurdy might be helpful on that front, mightn't he? I mean, having a character like that at a football club is a great bonus for a media chap, isn't it? I mean, you weren't here last year, but bucket hats went through the roof, quite frankly. I'm not sure whether people will get that new haircut, but somebody like that at a club is gold, isn't it, for somebody in your position?
It can be and it can't be. I'll put it that way. Harry's a fantastic footballer. We all know that last season. What a fantastic season he had. He's a confident lad, to say the least. The dress sense, I'm certainly no guru, but it's probably not something that I would wear. But each to their own. But every football club's got characters. I'm sure in the dressing room, he plays a pivotal role in that. And I've been here obviously through last week when he came back testing. That camaraderie he has with the players. He's got that respect, and the coaches respect him, and he respects the coaches as well. And yeah, from a media perspective, I know last season, he's a player that does speak his mind, and as we mentioned earlier on, in my mind, that's a good thing, because in that respect, you don't get the cliches and all that sort of thing. However, on the other hand, you do have to be a little bit careful and give them a bit of guidance in that respect. But over the next season, I'll get to know Harry well, hopefully, and we can build that relationship. And I'd love to give him more scope to do some media stuff and help the fans get to know him a bit better as well, and maybe hopefully find the meaning behind all those wacky outfits that he wears. But yeah, it'll be an interesting one. But for me, it's nice to have players like that, because they bring something a little bit different to my role. Let's put it that way.
Well, at the end of season presentation, he looked extraordinary. I saw
the photos. Yeah, I did see the photos.
Yeah. It just made my suit look a bit rubbish, to be fair. Rob, this is from Steve. Are you happy with the speed of the Port Vale investigation / arrests? Now, those of us who were there that night, you were there, Dave, I think, when you at Port Vale, you were there, obviously, Rob. It was horrific. The only time I can ever sort of compare it to is when we played that lot down the road, and at the Kassam. It was horrific. That's all I can say. Where are you at with that? Is that? I know the investigation is continuing, but are you happy with the investigation and the speed?
Well, I think no, not really. You want it to go more quickly. Understand the reasons why it doesn't go as quickly. The EFL investigating it, the FA are investigating it. We've fed back into both reviews. Obviously, the police are reviewing it, and we've fed back to the police, as have a number of supporters, which is great. Part of the reason it takes so long, and we experienced it ourselves after the issues at the Man City game that we had, is that it takes quite a long time to get actually the footage from the TV companies. They have to go through a legal process, etc., and rules around releasing that footage. So that does delay reviews such as this. I know they're still working on it. I spoke to Port Vale owner a couple of weeks ago, who apologised that it was taking a while, but explained that reasoning, which we've experienced ourselves. And I spoke to their CEO, my counterpart, earlier this week as well, about the review. So it is ongoing. It's working its way through. Obviously, the police made some arrests, didn't they, last week?
Yeah, 3, I think. Yeah,
which is good to see. Hopefully, the more will follow as appropriate based on their investigations, to make sure that those that did attack our supporters and players get identified and charges can be brought. But these things do take time.
Yeah, a horrible night in a lot of ways. This is from Steve, and he sent me an email earlier. Question for Rob tonight. Garner wanted the pitch made bigger, which has now been done, I believe, and he was the most likely the reason Dion did not get offered a contract. The way Dion played alongside Matthew Baudry towards the end of the season and tighten the defence, is it not possible now to try and get him back, try to keep some continuity within the squad? It's interesting because a lot of people always think, well, who actually made that decision? Because Ben Chorley and Ben Garner aren't in the club anymore. So can you tell us who made the decisions about players leaving and not having contracts?
Well, yeah, look, the offers and that were discussed and arranged. Obviously, Sandro's come in the building now, who worked that through with Scott. And they're very happy with the players that we've got in contract, the players that we're obviously trying to renew, and the players that we're trying to sign. And that's for us something very much that we leave to Sandro and Scott to work through and give them the support that they can as best we can financially. And obviously previously, that was the two Bens. But I would say I think the players, that we've got in the club, the guys are happy with and offered in contracts with, and that's something that they'll work through and will support. So I'll leave the football side rightly to the likes of Sandro and Scott to work through, because if I did it, I don't think we would be as competitive as we need to be.
Okay, fair enough. But Dion Conroy that's it now. He's finished. Is that right? I'm just putting Steve's question to you. We won't be seeing him again. As
far as I'm aware, again, that's one more for Sandro and Scott.
Okay, fine. This is from Edward Stewart Lockhart. It's been fine for 20 years. How much earlier should people have to get there? 30 minutes or more to get in at points last season. And that did lead to a lot of frustration, as you're well aware.
Yeah, absolutely. As we said, look, we made improvements, and I think things have got better. You also got to remember that we probably had average crowds with the highest or so for 30 years. So that drives some of it as well, which is great to sort of see. And equally, getting in earlier and building a bit of an atmosphere helps the players ahead of the game as well. But look, we are making improvements. As I said, the improvements are made during the season, improvements being made during the off season as well. But we still encourage fans to get there early to avoid any sort of disappointment. When we all know it, and we've all been there in big games, especially I think in the Arkle stand, and with the area and the space between the Arkle stand and the cricket ground, at times that can come a bit of a pinch point, and to avoid that, getting in early always helps. And look, I also see it as a positive sign that we're getting good crowds. We're seeing good support for Swindon Town Football Club, and we're seeing great football on the pitch.
Louis Reed, Jack Payne. We've mentioned Jack Payne, and obviously he's looking at his options. Dave, I know Louis Reed's been at the club because I've seen your pictures. You've taken pictures of Louis Reed, haven't you?
We've taken a few of him. Yeah,
fair enough.
Yeah.
And again, I know you're going to say, Rob, that's not my side of it, but where are we at with Louis Reed? Because many people will be concerned about, we had a fantastic midfield last year, and if we lose two quality players out of that midfield, then people will be concerned. So what do you know of Louis Reed?
Well, look, Louis Reed's in contract. He's a great player, like you said. That's all I could say, really. As I said, Sandro and Scott managed through the football side, but he's in contract, and we think he's a great player, and he had a great season for us last year. So I guess I couldn't say any more than that, really.
Are you nailing things down so they don't go off to Southeast London? I mean, it does seem, basically the furniture could be next, and you'll be aware of the social media jokes about everything, the tea lady, everybody going off to Charlton. How concerned are you, and can you do anything to stop any further raids, if you like, from Charlton Athletic?
Well, we are making sure that the tea lady is secure and on a very long-term contract, so she can't go across to Charlton. And equally with Rock and Robin as well, we're trying to make sure that can't happen either. But look, Sandra and Scott are working that through on the football side and will do everything they can. Obviously, you know, there's some things that you can manage on that side and some you can't, but we're doing everything that we can.
Nick says, I heard the food stand gone inside the town end. Why has it gone?
Well, look, we're bringing the kiosk solution in house. We've just brought in a new kiosk manager, so we're making a change from that perspective. It's something that we think that we can manage and control that. It might mean that to begin with, we might have a few teething problems, and we'd ask everyone to be patient with us. But we're doing the best we can to provide, you know, an improved solution. You know, the team that provided for us last year did a really good job, and it was obviously a difficult start for the club. And there's no way I think we'd have got there on our own. But we've looked at that and we think it's something that we can deliver in house, generate a better offering, and generate more revenue that can be reinvested back in our football club.
This from Dave. Can you explain in layman's terms the debenture issue that's still hanging over the club? Can you explain that?
Well, there remains there's been debentures held against the club for a number of years now. They go back to the Andrew Black sort of years. They've been in the accounts for many sort of years, and they're still there and still outstanding. That's all we can say at this sort of stage. You know, then yeah, I mean, I think that's been a position for a number of years.
Karen says, is it possible to add a clause to a manager's contract that they are not allowed to poach a player from the club? If they leave the club for at least a season, it wouldn't be allowed in other businesses such as hairdressers, just as an example. I don't know, how difficult is that? I mean, I don't know. Can you do that? I mean, if the point is, if you're a footballer and somebody comes in with a good offer, whatever that club is, you've got to consider it, haven't you? So is it difficult to prevent that happening?
I think it's difficult to prevent that from happening. And you know, you've got to remember with footballers that it's a short career. You know, they've got to try and make the most of it while they're here. Obviously, you want your players to stay for as long as possible, and you want to see more John Trollops. But it's much more difficult in the era that we're in these days to see that sort of come through. The key bit, you know, which I know Sandra and Scott do, is, you know, looking after the players you got, making them know that they're valued and you know, appreciated here. And I know the fans get behind them. You know, and stay loyal to them much more than many other clubs in my view. But ultimately, you know, that, you know, they've got to look at themselves, and it's a short professional career.
Yeah. Hannah says, is there anything? Hello, Hannah. Anything that keeps you up at night, Rob? At the moment, is there anything? You know, I mean, for me, it's the demise of Neighbours, quite frankly. But you know, you know, is there anything? Is there one particular problem at the club which makes you think, oh, 3 o'clock in the morning, when mice become elephants? You know, is there anything that really niggles away?
Nothing in particular. Like getting everything done that we need to get done ahead of pre-season is always something that this, you know, albeit it's only the second sort of year in, but the you know, we'll start the second year in. It's getting everything ready for pre-season, really. So making sure that, you know, we're doing all the improvements we need to do pre-season, making sure that obviously the kiosk offering is going to be ready. And it's going to meet the demands that, you know, that our supporters expect, and the standards we set ourselves. It's making sure that the operation is running as smoothly as we can, and equally as efficiently, and generating the funds that the club needs to, you know, invest in and grow and continue the growth of the club that we've seen, you know, since Clem took over.
Marcus says, you can't stop players moving to a new club if they're available on free transfers, no matter who the manager is. Hairdressers can move whenever they want to as well, which is a fair point. Paul says, are we close to any experienced players? Well, again, you're going to say that's the football side of it. Dave, Are you expecting to talk to anybody tomorrow on a camera at all?
I've not heard anything at the moment. I've some in constant talks with Sandro, and obviously as soon as he lets me know that there's a move on the horizon or a player coming in, then obviously I'll burst into action, and I'll do everything I can to make sure that we promote him well across our channels and let you guys know first off.
Well, you've been welcomed by Matthew and Matt, which is quite nice. They've sent welcome messages in to you.
I appreciate it.
let's have a look. New signings today. Did I hear that? Says Ben. I think you said if there's a signing tomorrow or something along that line. You didn't actually say there was going to be a signing.
No,
tomorrow.
sorry, no. If there was to be one tomorrow, then hopefully
Yeah.
I get a good heads up, so I can get.
I'll just send that out on Twitter then.
Yeah, saves me doing it.
Yeah. Well, on a similar theme, Lee says, here's one for Dave. Any new players incoming today, or is it stay tuned until later? When do you time these announcements? Because there always used to be a thing about Swindon, the 5 o'clock Friday announcement. Rob will be familiar with that. It was always a thing on a Friday at 5 o'clock. There'd be an announcement, which, is kind of... So you're aware that fans want to know things. So do you have a particular favourite time that you want to do it or not?
Not necessarily. I mean, I think for me, this 5 o'clock thing I wasn't aware of until I started to see comments on socials and sort of delved a bit deeper. And I didn't realise this was an actual thing here at this football club. So it all makes sense to me now a little bit more. No, to be honest, as soon as the paperwork's sorted and Sandro's happy, we want to get it out as soon as possible. We want fans to know that. The squad assembly that Scott's putting together is certainly happening and it's going well. And for me, like you said, there's not usually a great deal of time to get things sorted. We want to get players the contract signed, photographs, interviews, best we can. So I think, I mean, I think this week or last week we announced them at some all sorts of different random times, and as you can imagine, with some of them, so with Seoul, for instance, we're in contact with Middlesbrough as well, so we have to time those announcements with them and make sure that they're happy for us to do that. So it's a case of me putting everything together, contacting their head of media there, and ensuring that we're all on the same page and they're happy for us to announce it. So out of courtesy, we'll do that and work together on that. Obviously, when players are signed as free agents, we don't have to do that. But it also depends on what's going on throughout the day. I'll schedule it best I can to try and make sure we have maximum impact. As you can imagine, last week there were 4 signings plus Matthew renewing his deal as well. So it was all a bit of a they were happening left, right, and centre. So rather sometimes you can focus sort of 2 or 3 hours of your day on focusing on one player, whereas that was slightly different and a little bit more hectic. But as soon as I know and given the green light, it's a case of let's let the fans know.
One for both of you, really. This is from Steve. Has Harry got the knack of social media? I don't know whether he got close to it a couple of times last year, Rob. But when you don't want to curb a character, do you, Rob? No. But you've got to be aware of what social media can do. I guess for both of you, it's a real balancing act, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a balancing act. You're spot on, Vic. And Harry's a great lad, a great character. Our fans love him. We love him, and he's done great for us. And we want to continue to nurture that talent and bring the best out of it. But as you say, it's a balancing act with social media. I think for everybody, really. You have to be careful about what you use and what you post and put out there.
And I just to back Rob up on that, I think again we know that Harry's he's a great character, and I think fans want to see that character come out, and I think Harry's aware of what he can and can't post. He might test the boundaries sometimes, but we'll keep him on track with all of that. And it's a gentle nudge, and he's absolutely fine with that. So hopefully next season or this season, whichever way we look at it, we'll get some interesting positive comments as well, obviously, from him and be able to share them with our supporters.
Yeah, I mean, he did a great rallying call last year at the end of last season by saying that the fans should get behind the team and make a lot of noise, and it worked. So, it's that kind of thing, really. This is from Craig. We'll let you both go in a minute because I know you've been busy. Will it be a full first team squad at Melksham on Saturday, assuming that there will be a few trialist A and trialist Bs in the squad? I would imagine Scott would be quite keen to get everybody having a run out, wouldn't you, Rob?
I can probably answer that better than you, mate. Oh. I spoke to Scott about half an hour ago. To be fair, but I don't want to steal the line.
No, please do.
From my perspective, and I'm sure Scott won't mind me saying, I think Melksham will be more of a chance to play some of the trialists that have come into the club. I think obviously we've got a really varied pre-season schedule. We were playing sides of different levels. And I think that will give him the opportunity to blood a few of the younger players that have come in, and also a few of the players that he's looking at the moment. So, these pre-season friendlies aren't an opportunity to disrespect the opposition, by what sort of side you're fielding. But I think for Scott at the moment, with his stance on bringing players in and strengthening his squad at the moment, he's still looking at players. He's speaking to agents and looking at players, analysing them all the time. I've seen him a few times in a very dark room watching a TV screen on numerous occasions, and I'm sure he's not watching a film of some sort, or a horror film. So yeah, he's working hard on that respect. And as I say, Melksham, I think at the weekend will be a chance to have a proper look at some of these players that he might have in his mind. And obviously, if they have a positive impact, it's down to them to prove themselves. And who knows, that there might be a star in the making for next season.
Okay. Well, I remember there was a trialist at Weymouth last season, and we all went, "Oh gosh, who's that?" He ended up getting 24 goals last season.
Yeah.
So there we go. Will mascots be able to go in to meet players in the dressing room, etc. this season? That's from Gavin.
Yeah, we understand that should be fine this season as things stand. So they continue that way.
Yeah, I guess with COVID, that might have been a problem. Was it last season or not?
Yeah.
Ian says, "Hi guys, it's my 49th birthday today. Happy birthday to you, Ian." Yeah, happy birthday. Yeah. Well, thank you both very much. Got loads and loads of questions, and many of them are regarding various subjects which will be discussed, I think, at the advisory. Oh, we've lost Rob again.
We get too close.
And they will, trust me, they will be forwarded on, won't they, Chris, to Rob, so that they can be answered at the advisory board. So
yeah,
we're not hiding anything. They will, but we have I don't know how many questions we've got, but
we've got a lot, and we've got a lot of people very upset that we haven't been asking questions. But as I said at the beginning, this isn't the forum for that. They are going to the advisory board. So that's where the forum they will be asked at, not on an open forum like this. It's not that they're avoiding questions or anything like that. It's just that was what was decided. We would give them that would go to the advisory board. So please, there is some quite irate people on there. Please don't be irate. This is a nice, friendly show. So yeah.
Sometimes. So
yeah. So we'll keep it like that. So, but as we said, we will be sending all the questions and that to Rob and Dave anyway, and so they'll see what's come through, because there's been some lovely comments as well. Thanking you all for doing what you've been doing throughout the season as well. So that's nice. So I'll send them all to you. So that's it for tonight. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Rob. Thank you very much for coming on. Thank you, Vic. Next week, we've got something a bit different. We have got John Stiles, who is the son of Nobby Stiles. As we all know, he sadly passed away with Alzheimer's. And his son is coming on, and we hope for a few more people to just talk about that side of football. And I think he's written a book, hasn't he, Vic, or something? Or he's done.
Yeah, he's very heavily involved in the campaign, focusing on the effect of dementia within football, and so we're very pleased that he's coming on to talk to us about it. Very sad story, of course. The great Nobby Stiles, 66 World Cup winner. And we'll also be talking to hopefully one or two of the medical staff as well at the town. So, it's a very, very difficult subject, but John is very kindly coming on next week to talk about it.
Yeah. So that's brilliant. So we'll see you next week. Don't forget your memberships. Don't forget your matchday draws. And if anybody's at Melksham, we will see you on Saturday. So for now, we say goodbye and we will see you soon.